Friends. So we all want good friends, right? Even those people who kind of say, "Oh, I'm done with friends now. They just always let me down." I think if you asked deep down and said like, if you could have a good friend, then of course, yeah. We're social creatures. You know, Friends are really important to us. Um, we want a friend who, we can spend really good times with, have good laughs, and some really good moments we can cherish. We want a friend who is there during the sad times, when we're at our lowest in life, maybe in pain, or we're depressed, or we're feeling crap. We have this friend there to support us. Maybe offer advice, but maybe in some case just to listen. Just even their presence alone is just enough, just to be helpful. And then a friend as well who can be there and celebrate our achievements, our wins, our victories in life, because that can be hard sometimes as well. You know, I think everyone at some point when a friend has achieved something, they're happy for them, but at the same time they're like, I wish I had that as well. AKA, if your friend got like a promotion, or they got like an A in their exam and you got a C, and you're like, yeah, I'm happy for you, but at the same time you're like, I wish I had that as well. Or, he's been promoted or she's been promoted, and I haven't been promoted for like a year now or 2 years, and I'm stuck here, like, and you do a comparison, because we always love to compare, and it's okay to do that. But wouldn't we want a friend who actually genuinely is happy for us and doesn't really care what your news has to do with them, like the comparison? They're just happy for you that you got a promotion, that you achieved something, that you maybe lifted the biggest weight you have in the gym, or you learnt a new skill like playing the guitar or something, and they're generally like, wow, yeah, man, like that's amazing, like good for you, you worked for it, and I'm so happy for you that you achieved this. You know that's really important as well, like friends who generally actually want the best for you. And sometimes, believe it or not, it can be kind of hard to come by, because we generally have our selfish tendencies, and when we hear something, we kind of like to reflect ourselves in the situation. AKA, if someone again has got some news, we kind of think, oh, what does that mean for me? But someone who can put that aside and actually generally have your well-being at heart. And then wouldn't we want a friend who again, like in the sad times, rather than just kind of hear you and then just kind of give the token answer of like, oh, I'm sure it'll be fine, or let's look on the bright side, because there's a difference between hearing and listening. Like, hear is like, you actually can regurgitate what that person says to you back, but listening, you actually, not only do you hear what they say, but you actually think it through. You actually really consider what this person is saying and why it's important to them and what it means to them. And then you can actually give an answer that has some thought in it. Actually, you can generally see that they've put some thought into it, and they already have your well-being at heart. Like, if someone says to you, comes to you and kind of explains in a long format of why they're not feeling so confident at the moment, all the examples, etc. You really listen to them, and then you're like, yeah, hey, dude, I know, like, I know this girl may have rejected you and stuff like that, and obviously it makes you feel crappy, but dude, come on, I know you're more confident than that. You have all these great traits, and like, didn't the girl that you dated like last time, like, that went pretty well as well, right? So like, don't beat yourself up that much. You're better than what you're kind of portraying yourself to be, because you are your worst enemy, and you can beat yourself up inside. And that kind of response is like, they generally have listened to what you're saying. They know from past experiences of yours why what you're saying might not be fully true, and they've actually taken the time, the consideration to actually think about that response, and are generally, out for your well-being. So all these traits are, great. And like a friend as well who, is conscious of you and your thoughts, and maybe wants to reach out from time to time and like say like, hey, let's do something, or give you a call, and you chat about things, maybe like, even like, if you're feeling down or depressed, kind of sometimes that friend who, without even knowing it, it's like we love when we're not feeling so good, and that friend sends a text, or maybe the phone starts ringing. It's almost like a lifeline. It's almost like a bit of salvation from this like dark abyss that you're currently in, and it can just like give your heart a bit of flutter of joy. It's almost like a spark of light in like a dark well, and it's great. And like when your best friends can do that, they can, it may not make you like get you out of your rut, but it certainly makes you feel better, and you go, yeah, like I'm feeling shit right now, but I've got friends with me. I'm not alone. I've got a friend with me to support me, and generally, are out there for my well-being. And yeah, like a friend also can just kind of sense when you're not in the right mental space. Just because they know your body language, or they know the way that you speak, and they can go, hey man, you're not actually acting like how you usually are. What's up? Is everything okay? Even that alone is just enough. And you may not feel like talking about it, but at least that person's kind of picked up on the fact that, your vibe is a bit different, and they're kind of, concerned to know why. It's like the unspoken word, and that can like make you feel great. Just the fact that they have that little thought of concern is just like what you really appreciate. Like, wouldn't we want a friend who can do that? And then and I mean, the loneliness thing itself, of course. Obviously your friends can really, close friends can really help with that, because when you're feeling shit, and you are dealing with an issue, a lot of the time people think that the issue they're dealing with no one else understands, and you feel like people aren't even aware of it, and you're alone. But if you have the kind of friend who just has that consideration for you, they may not even understand the situation you're in. They may do if you open up to them, but even if they don't understand the situation you're in, the fact that they are willing just to listen to you, or just care about it, is enough. And loneliness can become a friend very quickly, and we think it's great for us, but loneliness is really damaging, to humans, because we're a social species. Physically, like loneliness can make us really unhealthy, and mentally as well. And that's why friends are so important to us, and family, because we're social creatures, and our health depends on it. Like, it's rooted in our biology, but then even not just from a biological perspective, but metaphysically as well speaking, their friends have like a huge importance. So all of these traits, that I've just listed, that if I bet you're sitting there going, yeah, I'd love for a friend to be able to, I'd love for a friend like this, right? In essence, what I kind of have just described is really kind of like what a best friend is, or a top tier friend. It's not about ranking. It's just someone who If you would say like, oh, all these kind of like all these traits, all these great positive things, like, how would you call it? I'd say, like, I'd probably call it a best friend, a close friend. Doesn't matter how you define it, whatever. It's the fact that all those things together, basically, it's just all these things are the signs of like a person who is just considerate, who loves and cares for you, and who trusts you. Um, that's what really matters. Um, and yeah, definitely trust as well. Someone who you feel like you can actually talk to and say even your deepest and darkest secrets, and they won't use that against you, and they'll help you. And actually, when you share these things, actually your bonds can become stronger because you've shared something so intimate about yourself, and maybe they do it back. And also the fact that, if you're like, I've done it in the past where I've had some of the deepest, darkest secrets myself, and there's the fear of telling anyone. Like, I thought I'd never tell it. Like, I've got close friends, but I'd never tell anyone this. But actually telling it, it's almost like it's kind of a weight off my shoulders, and it's like it's almost like a priest in a confessional, that I know it's not going to be used against me, and I know that it's safe, and it's great, and also I feel stronger to that person because I've shared this thing with them, and then also the fact that they can trust you as well, and they can they have the capacity to love you just as much as you love them. This is what, for me, you can call it, is the sign of a best friend. But the issue is, I think, which a lot of people experience is, when they think about this, they go, well, I'm sorry, but in the past, like, I've had good friends and I've done certain acts or certain deeds or said certain things, and it hasn't really been reciprocated. I've shown a certain amount of love, I've helped someone a certain way, and then when it came to the other way around, it wasn't reciprocated. Reciprocation is a big issue for a lot of people. It's a big issue for me. And then they think, well, because it wasn't reciprocated, it doesn't really exist, this standard. Like, this standard is too high, and you shouldn't have it, and you'll never really kind of get to that level of a friendship, which is a shame that a lot of people feel that way, and I certainly had issues with that in my teenage years, where I would try and be very loving and trusting and open to other people, and they wouldn't reciprocate, and it really hurts, and for a time you can definitely think, well, I just not want to bother, I'm just not going to be as open and loving and caring as I was, because I'm not getting it back. So why am I going to put myself out there and constantly get hurt? It's completely understandable. But then you have to think to yourself, like, well, actually, am I going to allow myself to be defined by what other people may negatively do to me or affect me? If, like, someone breaks my trust, am I then going to become less trusting? Am I, like, obviously, like, you don't just hand out trust willy. You hand out trust to the people who you feel like you can trust, and the people closest to you. But if someone breaks my trust, one of my best friends breaks my trust, like, does that mean I'm not going to be trusting my other best friends now, or my other close friends, or friends in the future who may become really close to me? Do I become a less trusting person? In essence, do I become lesser a person because someone's done something lesser to me? No, like, because then you're being defined by negative things that happen within your environment, and you're just going to become a more sheltered person who kind of goes into his cave and tries to protect himself from all the pain and the hurt and the anxiety and the fear that you experience from certain people who may cause you pain, and that's why people's standards of like what a friend lowers, but we shouldn't lower these standards. If we think about it, let's say in the simple terms, as a comparison, let's say like manners, right? We were taught like manners as kids, and it's good to maintain that, because it's good to be kind and polite to other people, right? And like our parents taught us, and we should continue to do it to other people. But of course, the moment we stop with that standard, then everything else deteriorates. The same with friends. Like we have a standard of what a friend is. Like everyone has their different perceptions of what friends are, which is completely, everyone has their different perceptions. It's completely fine. But I think if you were to loosely say, everyone's got like a general concept of what a friend is, and someone that you like and you spend time with and you have fun with. Like I think people would probably universally agree with that, right? But even that, like even if we start calling, because we do sometimes, we actually call people friends who actually we don't really have that much fun with, who we kind of like but maybe not, and and yet we still call them friends, and it's like that's the standard. It's like it's almost you're lying to yourself in your brain that actually they're not really that much of friends for me. They're people that I kind of I communicate with maybe in my social group, but they're not really a friend, but even that sometimes that kind of gets blurred. And yeah, I don't think we should lower the standards, but I think it has been. I think we have seen those like standards lowered, and like our closeness and our bonds to people, I think, is not as strong as they used to be, and that's like many factors which can go to in another video. But I mean, statistically speaking, I don't want to sound like someone who's very kind of mechanical in the way he thinks, but there's definite evidence behind this in terms of how we feel more alone and less close to people than we used to. There was a study, so I looked up this beforehand because I wanted to kind of get a better idea. So I looked it up, and there's a study from Cambridge, and they were looking at loneliness, and then loneliness, and then trust amongst close people in your life. And so they did a survey in the 1980s, and then 2017. So it's part of the same study, and they asked people like how many people in your life do you feel like you can truly trust and you're really close to, and so the average was about 3 or 4. So it's like, that's pretty standard. And so they asked the same question in 2017, and the average was not 1 but 0. The average was 0, and that's like a really sad state of affairs where we don't feel like we can trust people as much as we could, and feel like we can have a stronger bond of friendship, or as much as we did. And stuff like social media, etc., has really kind of aided that decay, just in terms of how we do our relationships these days. But again, that's like another whole topic, another whole video about loneliness, etc. But yeah, our ability to to trust, like our kind of perception of what a friend should be, how many friends we have, how much time and dedication we spend to friends, it's very different. And again, like this is even there's another side to it where it's down to us individually, where sometimes our anxieties, our ability to love ourselves and have self-confidence as well. Like you can't love someone else as much as you can love yourself. You can't trust someone as much as you can trust yourself. It's very hard to do that. Like the capacity for you to do that is a lot more limited. And again, like going to another study which helped with this was in 2015. They were measuring the anxiety and depression levels amongst 12 to 18 year olds, no, 12 to 20 year olds, and so basically teenagers, and the anxiety and depression levels were higher amongst 12 to 20-year-olds in 2015 than it was in World War II, when teenagers had their brothers go off to war and their fathers go off to war, and they didn't know if they were going to come back, they didn't know if they were going to be killed. They were constantly being worried about being bombed, food shortages, a really stressful life, yet their anxiety and depression was lower than that of those of teenagers in 2015. That's crazy. And of course, like that with these people, this kind of mindset, it's going to be harder for people to really trust and love other people. And it just shows again the importance of friends. And I think we don't even really have a conversation about this. I'm not sure even your parents really talk to you about this that much, and how important friends are, why they are so important. Family is important. It's really important, and I may even value it more. But in some cases, I sometimes value my friends more than my family, because with your family, it's blood. You haven't chosen them, and they're going to love you universally, which is amazing. But that's not your choice. With friends, it's nothing ties you together. Nothing pre-existing ties you together. It's your choice. You've chosen to be friends with this person because your personality, who you are, really resonates with them, and vice versa. It's almost like two minds coming together out of the millions of people out there, and you guys can really form a bond, in some cases even stronger than that of family members, and that's amazing. And they also give you a bit more of an objective view as well. Your family will always love you, no matter what, no matter who you are. But with friends, they will love you dependent on you. The moment you stop being who you are, true to yourself, they'll start to question that, and maybe they not no longer close friends anymore. So it's really kind of the value and the strength of your relationships with your friends is as good as how strong you adhere to who you are, because that's what attracts them to you in the first place. Your personality, who you are, what your essence is. And that's what's really amazing about it. And when you have, from personal experience as well, when you've had tragedies and maybe deaths within the family and stuff like that, friends are so important, because when someone passes away in the family, everyone feels the pain, and no one wants to burden the other family members with said pain, and so they can't really talk fully or cry. They don't want to cry in front of the other family members because they don't want to pass on the pain. And so that's why friends are important, because you can go away, the son can go away in his own little group and really express his emotions and his frustrations and his anger and his sadness, and his friends can help him, and the mother can go to her group and the father can go to her group, because they just naturally, in family, you don't want to burden your family members, even if you are so close and you're the best trusting relationships. It's just not how it works. Naturally, we just want to protect our family members, but that's where the friends come in, and they can help you and they can take that burden on. And again, that's the best friends are really good at doing that. That's what you should kind of expect from a best friend, that when when someone's passed away, or when you have the most painful experiences in your life, that they're there for you. Just there. They don't have to say anything, they don't have to do anything, they're just there for you, present. And that's really amazing, and that's what best friends should be. And it's fine to have that standard. And then again, also as referring to earlier, if they don't people don't reciprocate. If people don't reciprocate your friendship, your support for them, they don't reciprocate that. They don't show as much love to you or trust to you, or they don't maybe they don't reach out to you as much and stuff like that. Doesn't mean then that because that might be a bit hurtful, but doesn't mean then that you stop being what you think a best friend is. I believe I'm a best friend. This is what a best friend means. I'm going to be that to my friends. And if they don't reciprocate, well, that's okay. That's my standards and not theirs. But doesn't mean that I'm going to change my belief because other people maybe don't adhere to it, or even maybe even betray it. Because if I lower my standard because of someone's negative actions, then you shouldn't change based on pain and fear. If you change on pain and fear, you become a very bitter character. You should change for positive reasons, and you should adhere to your principles of what you believe a best friend is. I'm happy acting in the way of a best friend because I know that Sam is a person who acts like a best friend, who loves people, who trusts people, who supports people, who is there for people when they most need it. And that is enough for me, and it should be enough for you in terms of, you know, continuing to be that kind of person. Don't lower your standards because someone else does it because of their negative experience. Don't do that. Adhere to what you believe in, and don't do it because of expectation of reciprocation. Do it because that's who you believe, who you are. I hope you guys enjoyed that. There'll be some it links into the self-confidence video beforehand, and we'll do a video on loneliness and social media, etc. But it was good just to share my thoughts again. This is the purpose of the videos. You know, I'm not expecting much people to watch it, but it's kind of more for me, just a way just to kind of express my beliefs. It's good for me. It's a therapeutic way to really kind of reassure in terms of what I believe in, and also make me think about it a bit more, because, you know, your beliefs can change, whatever you feel is right. So yeah, it's almost like a log for me, and I think we'll end it there.